Hi and welcome back to our page. Here's a scenario that plays out in care services across the country every single day. A manager looks up what Skills for Care says about mandatory training, books some generic online courses on health and safety, fire safety, infection control and safeguarding, ticks the boxes, files the certificates and assumes they're done. Then CQC turns up. They start asking questions. Why don't your staff know how to support someone with dysphagia when half your service users have swallowing difficulties? Why hasn't anyone had dementia training when you're a specialist dementia care home? Why did staff panic when someone fell instead of knowing exactly what to do? The problem isn't lazy managers. The problem is a fundamental misunderstanding of what mandatory training actually means. Here's the truth. Mandatory training isn't a fixed list that you copy from the internet. It's whatever your service needs to safely support your service users. I'm going to show you exactly how to work out what's truly mandatory for your service, how to build training programs that actually develop competence, and why getting this right transforms everything from care quality to CQC ratings. Let's start by clearing up terminology because this confuses care providers constantly. Statutory training is training required by law. Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999. This isn't optional. It's legal requirement that applies to everyone. Mandatory training is compulsory training that you as an organisation or your commissioners determine as essential for safe delivery of services. This reduces risks and ensures compliance with policies, guidelines, and crucially, CQC's fundamental standards. Now here's where it gets interesting. CQC Regulation 18 on staffing says that staff must receive the support, training, professional development, supervision and appraisals necessary for them to carry out their roles and responsibilities. The word necessary is everything. If your role involves supporting people with dementia training isn't a nice to have. It's necessary. If you support people at risk of choking, dysphagia training isn't an extra. It's essential. If you work in end-of-life care, understanding the dying process isn't additional. It's fundamental. Most services get this wrong because they focus on what's technically required across all care settings rather than what's actually necessary for their specific service users. A dementia care home needs completely different mandatory training than learning disability supported living services. A service supporting people with physical disabilities needs different training than a mental health rehabilitation service. The question isn't what Skills for Care says is mandatory. The question is, what does my service need to safely and effectively support the people we actually care for? Right, let's cover the absolute foundation. The statutory and mandatory training that applies to pretty much every care worker in every setting. This is your baseline before you even start thinking about your service-specific needs. Health and safety awareness. This covers your responsibilities, risk assessments, hazardous substances, security and your own mental health and well-being. If you're not doing formal first aid training separately, this should also cover responding to accident and sudden illnesses. 3-year refresher minimum. Then there's fire safety, and this must be relevant to your actual environment. Fire safety in someone's own home is different from a care home or community service. You need yearly fire drills as competency checks. If you work part-time or nights, you might need this more frequently. Moving and handling objects. This is about equipment and objects, not just people. That comes later, and this requires a 3-year refresh. Next is infection prevention and control. Post-COVID, nobody can claim this doesn't matter. Causes and chain of infection, systems and procedures, hand hygiene, PPE, managing infection in your specific setting. Someone's own home has very different infection control than a care home. 3 years refresh for this as well. Then there's adult safeguarding. This is absolutely non-negotiable. Principles reducing likelihood of abuse, procedures, roles and responsibilities, how to respond, restrictive practices, and this comes with a 3-year refresh or when needs change. These 5 areas are your absolute baseline. Every care worker needs them. But here's what most services miss. This is where they stop, and that's where the problems start. If you're running a dementia care home and your training program stops at these 5 basics, you've got a massive problem. Your staff aren't equipped to do their actual jobs. The baseline isn't enough. It's just a starting point. This is where we get to what mandatory training really means. The training that's absolutely essential for your specific service, but might not appear on anyone else's list. Let me give you some examples as I go through these. Think about your own service users. Which of these apply to you? Falls prevention and management. If you support people at risk of falls, this is mandatory. That's elderly people, people with neurological conditions, people on certain medications, and people with poor vision. Your staff need to understand risk factors. environmental modifications, and what to do when someone falls, when to call 999 and when you can manage in the house. The difference between a fall requiring immediate emergency response and a fall where you can help someone up, monitor and document. Pressure area care. If you support people with limited mobility or bedbound people, this is mandatory. How pressure sores develop, risk factors, spotting early signs, repositioning effectively, and when to escalate. A grade 4 pressure sore is a never event, something that should never happen with proper care. If your staff don't understand pressure care and you support at-risk people, you're setting yourself up for failure. Then there's oral care. It gets overlooked constantly but matters enormously. If you support people needing assistance with oral hygiene, staff need training. Think natural teeth versus dentures. Making it dignified rather than something done to someone. Spotting oral health problems and when to involve dentists. Next is choking and dysphagia training. If you support anyone with swallowing difficulties, this again is mandatory. Dysphagia affects people who have had strokes, Parkinson's, dementia, learning disabilities, head and neck cancers. If someone needs modified texture diets, thickened fluids, specific positioning for eating, your staff must understand dysphagia. Recognizing choking versus other breathing difficulties, back blows, abdominal thrusts, and when to call 999. This is life and death knowledge. Next is communication training. When we support people with communication difficulties, this becomes mandatory. People who've had strokes, people with learning disabilities using Makaton, people with dementia, people who are deaf, people using communication aids. Communication underpins everything in care. Get it wrong and nothing else works. Consent and mental capacity. That's mandatory for everyone but crucial if you support people who lack capacity. The Mental Capacity Act, the 5 principles, assessing capacity, best interests, DOLS. If you're making decisions for someone without understanding the legal frameworks, you're creating massive safeguarding and legal risks. Dementia training. If you support people with dementia, this is mandatory. Types of dementia, progression, person-centered approaches, communication strategies, behaviours that challenge, and supporting families. It sounds obvious, but service support people with dementia without providing proper dementia training constantly. Then there's Oliver McGowan mandatory training. This is now a legal requirement under CQC's Regulation 18. Staff must know how to interact appropriately with people with learning disabilities and autistic people. If you work in specialist services, you need training beyond the basics. This is happening right now. So you see there's a pattern. Your service user group determines what truly mandatory means, not a generic list, not what someone else's service needs, what your people need. Some training exists primarily to keep people safe when things go wrong. You might not need these skills daily, but when you need them, you really need them. Managing challenging behaviour and de-escalation. Mandatory if you support anyone who may display behaviours that challenge. People with dementia, learning disabilities, mental health conditions, people who are frightened or in pain. Understand why behaviours happen, de-escalation techniques, keeping everyone safe when restrictive interventions might be necessary, and how to reflect and learn from incidents. Then there's COSHH training, which is control of substances hazardous to health. If staff use cleaning products, medications, anything that could cause harm, this is mandatory. What's hazardous? Safe use, secure storage, and when PPE is needed. What to do when something goes wrong. There's also PEEP training, which is personal emergency evacuation plans. If you support anyone needing assistance to evacuate in an emergency, this is mandatory. People using wheelchairs, visual impairments, cognitive impairments, people who might panic, every person needing assistance must have a PEEP. Every staff member must understand the PEEPs for people they support in a fire. This saves lives. And there's duty of candour, which is a legal requirement under CQC's regulations. When something goes wrong, you must tell the person, apologise, explain what happened, and say what you'll do to fix it and prevent reoccurrence. Staff need to understand triggers, how to have difficult conversations, documentation, and how this links to learning. Getting this wrong destroys trust. Here's an expert tip. Look at your incidents, accidents, complaints, safeguarding concerns over the past year. What patterns emerge? Repeated falls might mean inadequate falls training. Medication errors might mean your medication training and competency checking needs strengthening. Your incidents are data showing where training gaps exist. As staff progress, training needs to expand. A senior care assistant needs everything a care assistant needs, plus leadership, delegation, quality monitoring, supporting junior staff, and managing shifts. Team leaders need all that plus strategic thinking, resource management, performance management. Let me focus on two big ones. Medication administration training. Only mandatory if you administer medication, but if you do, training must be thorough. This could be anything from legislation, policies, medication types, administration procedures, preparing safely, monitoring, roles and responsibilities, what you can and can't do. With that regard, NICE guidelines are very clear. Designated staff should only administer medicines when they've had necessary training and been assessed as competent by the employer. Not just trained, competent. There's a big difference. This isn't one and done. If you've not had additional medication training within a year, training needs and competency must be reviewed. When needs change, new medications appear, policy changes, training happens. Competency checks through observation are essential. Next is food hygiene. Mandatory if you handle, prepare, or provide food. This includes supporting people with food preparation in their homes, food safety, hygiene requirements, good practice, and that again is a 3-year refresh. Then the specific condition training. Supporting someone with Parkinson's requires understanding of the condition. Medication timing, movement considerations, diabetes needs blood sugar management, hypo and hyper recognition, dietary understanding, and foot care. Epilepsy needs seizure recognition, rescue medication, when to call 999, and the recovery position. End-of-life care training. If you support people at end of life, this should align to core skills, education and training frameworks, the dying process, symptom management, and working with healthcare professionals, supporting families after death care, and your own resilience. So how do you actually work out what's mandatory for your service? Let me give you some processes. Step 1. Start with statutory basics. Health and safety, fire, moving and handling objects, infection control, safeguarding, because again, everyone needs these. Step 2. Look at your service user group. Who do you support? What are their needs? What conditions? What support is required? And what risks exist? This tells you what's mandatory for you specifically. Step 3. Ask critical questions. Is there a new risk? Have people's needs changed? Has the environment changed? Have teams changed significantly? Are new activities required? Are there changes to legislation, guidance, or policy? And are staff competent? These questions tell you when training needs reviewing. Step 4. Analyze your data. Look at incidents, accidents, complaints, safeguarding concerns, what patterns emerge. This shows you where gaps exist. Step 5. Talk to your staff. What do they feel unprepared for? What makes them anxious? What would they like more training on? Staff know what they struggle with, so listen. Step 6. Check commissioner requirements. Commissioners may specify training in contracts. If you agree to provide it, it's mandatory. Your mandatory training program should be documented clearly in policies, delivered through varied methods suited to different learning, include competency checking to ensure learning transfers to practice, and review regularly for relevance and effectiveness. Here's what separates services that get training right from those who don't. Competency checking. You can send someone on every training course in the world, but until you observe them actually doing the task safely and correctly, you don't know they're competent. Formal competency checks are observations of practice whilst carrying out the key tasks. This analyses practice and knowledge. Informal checking can be quizzes and meetings, discussions and supervision, reflective practice opportunities. What should be included? Key tasks relevant to role and per people's needs, assisting and moving, medication administration, supporting with eating and drinking, whatever matters the most. Observing key tasks also gives you opportunities to see how someone interacts with people. Infection control practices, record keeping, overall approach, it's a window into practice. So how often? It depends on activity complexity. Additional requirements when new activities or risks appear. Document this in policy so everyone knows what the expectations are. For fire safety, practice drills yearly minimum. For medication, NICE said staff should only administer when trained and assessed as competent. That means observation, not just certificate completion. Training should never exist separately from supervision and appraisal. They're all part of the same cycle. In supervision, review how training is being applied in practice. Identify emerging training needs. Discuss what support someone needs to use learning effectively. In appraisals, review training completed over the year. assess impact on practice and confidence, identify training needs for the coming year. Training needs from appraisals feed into personal development plans. These get reviewed in supervision, and the cycle continues. This integration ensures training isn't tick boxing. It becomes genuine development that improves practice, builds confidence, and enhances care quality. When CQC inspects, they want to see this integration. They want to see training records, how you identify needs, how you check competency, how training links to improved outcomes. They talk to staff about training, what they learned, and how it helps. A service where staff completed lots of training but can't demonstrate competencies raises concerns. Training that's generic and doesn't relate to actual needs raises concerns also. Out-of-date records, staff unsure when they last trained on crucial topics, new staff working before being properly trained, all create seriously regulatory risks. When mandatory training is inadequate, consequences can be catastrophic. Someone chokes because staff don't recognise dysphagia warning signs. Someone develops a pressure sore because staff don't understand repositioning. Someone with dementia is labelled difficult when staff don't know how to communicate or understand behaviour. Someone falls and staff panic because they've never been shown what to do. These aren't theoretical, they're real harms in real services because training programmes focusing on tick boxes rather than genuinely equipping staff. The cost in human suffering is obvious, but there are other costs. Safeguarding investigations, CQC enforcement action, compensation claims, staff feeling anxious and unprepared, leading to turnover, reputation damage making recruitment harder, and families losing trust. Compare this to services getting training right. Staff are confident and competent, they spot problems early and respond appropriately, they provide excellent person-centred care because they understand what the people they support need. This means that quality improves and incidents reduce. Staff stay because they feel skilled and valued, and families can trust you. CQC sees commitment to excellence. So here's the bottom line. Mandatory training isn't a fixed list you copy, it's a carefully constructed programme built around your actual needs. It includes statutory basic everyone needs, everything necessary for staff to safely support your service users, role-specific training as people develop, training on new activities, risks, or needs as they emerge. World-class training programs are documented clearly, delivered through varied methods, include competency checking, link seamlessly with supervision and appraisal, respond to changes in legislation and guidance, and focus relentlessly on outcomes. Does this training improve care quality? Does it increase staff confidence? And does it reduce incidents? Enhance service user feedback? If training isn't achieving these outcomes, it needs changing regardless of technical compliance. At CareSync Experts, we work with care providers building comprehensive training programs that go beyond the basics. We help identify what's truly mandatory for your service, design training that develops genuine competence, create competency checking systems at work, and integrate everything with supervision and appraisal. We prepare evidence for CQC that demonstrates real commitment to workforce development, not just completed certificates. If building a training program that genuinely equips your staff to deliver excellent care is a challenge, we can help. Contact us at hello@caresyncexperts.co.uk or give us a call. We hope this video has been helpful. Make sure you like, comment, and share.